Hi guys, welcome back to my channel Lush Foliage. In today's video we are going to be talking about this beautiful plant. Tends to look like philodendron, but actually it is an alocasia. It's called as Alocasia purple sword. I'll put up the entire botanical name on the screen. Now guys, the Alocasia purple sword is a tropical evergreen plant, highly valued for its ornamental look, which is beautiful use of green and purple. The purples will usually be underneath the leaves. My plant does not have the purples yet, but it will slowly start to appear. I'll put up the image of how the underleaf tends to look like. It has this purple color. Now Alocasia purple sword is a stress-free plant and would not take much of your time and effort. All you need to do is just focus on meeting its needs. Basically, it is a tropical plant, so you have to provide an environment that is similar to that. So let's start off with the watering requirements, because that is the most important thing. Whenever you tend to see that the topsoil is dry, go ahead and do a complete watering. You can also put your finger in the soil and check if the soil is dry or not. The moment you feel that the soil is dry, go ahead and do a complete watering. Do not keep this plant underwatered for a very long time. It's not a drought tolerant plant. The plant will start to have droopy leaves, so you have to be extremely careful. Also, the soil needs to be slightly moist but not soggy wet, because if you're going to keep a soggy wet soil, there will be a rot in the roots or in the rhizomes, so you have to be extremely careful. Yes, these plants have rhizomes. We will talk about that in detail. Now, talking about the light requirements, Alocasias prefer a good amount of indirect bright light. The light has to be very bright. Please do not expose it to direct sunlight, otherwise the plant will get burnt, especially afternoon direct sunlight. Maybe if you get a very mild morning sunlight before 9 AM, that is absolutely okay, but after that please do not expose it to direct sunlight. Now, talking about the soil requirements, I'm using the same soil mix, which is a mix of coco peat, garden soil, sand and perlite, because they prefer well draining, loose porous soil mix which retains a slight amount of moisture which the coco peat is going to give it to it. Apart from that, it's a heavy feeding plant, so you have to fertilize the plant during the summer season. You can go with any liquid based fertilizer, or you can go with your vermicompost, compost, whatever organic fertilizers you have been using, but ensure you do not use any fertilizers during the winter season, because that's when the plant tends to go dormant. So please do not add any fertilizers during the winters, otherwise your plant will get burnt, it will die, because that's when the plant goes dormant. You can even reduce your watering as well. Again, depending upon your environment and climate, in some places where the climate is very cold, it might happen to drop off all of the leaves, or probably it might have only 1 or 2 leaves. Please don't be worried. Even if all the leaves tend to fall off, do not throw the plant out. Do not throw the soil or the pot, because the rhizomes will still be inside the soil. As in, when the climate gets warmer, they tend to again sprout out. This is something that happens with all of the Alocasias. So it's an absolutely easy to grow plant, very low maintenance. The only thing that you have to do is give it the right conditions in order for it to thrive. Now, talking about temperature and humidity, it requires fairly the average humidity of anywhere above 50-60%. 60% plus is going to work out really well. Ensure guys that you do not have a major fluctuation in the temperature. For example, if you're growing it indoor and you're keeping it near the windowsill where it gets a good amount of indirect bright light, ensure that there is not a major fluctuation, because if there is a major fluctuation in the temperature, then that will definitely damage the plant. It prefers a very stable environment, a very stable temperature, ideally anywhere between let's say 17 degrees Celsius up to 34-35 degrees Celsius is going to work out really well. These are the plants that love warmer climate, so even if the temperatures are around 33, 34, even 35, the plant will do quite well. The only thing that you have to keep in mind is, if you are from a very dry environment, try to miss the plant during the afternoons when it's very hot. If you are from a very dry environment, and try to club a lot of plants together. If you're growing it indoor, ensure you're using a humidifier. The Alocasia is going to do quite well. Now, talking about fertilizers, as I said, it's a heavy feeder, but please don't feed the Alocasia during the winters, because that will again damage the plant. Propagation, this is where we were talking about the rhizomes. The only way to propagate this plant is via division, root division. When you tend to dig the soil, you'll find rhizomes in that. You can separate the rhizomes if they have roots, or you can just take the rhizomes and you can plant it in another soil mix and they will start to grow. They are very easy to grow via the rhizomes. So the rhizome division is one of the best method to propagate our Alocasia. Even the same goes with our haliconas as well. Birds of paradise, they also have these rhizomes, and it becomes very easy to propagate these plants via dividing the rhizomes or the roots, because as and when the plant starts to grow, it is going to get a lot of new bushy growth, and that is what you can separate and you can multiply this plant. Now, talking about, is this plant toxic? Yes, this plant is toxic, so ensure you're keeping this plant away from the reach of small children and pets, because ingesting of the leaves, they do contain some kind of protein that can cause a poisonous reaction to those who tend to ingest the leaves. So be extremely careful, because if the leaves are ingested, it may cause nausea, diarrhea, vomiting, burning of mouth and throat, and swelling of eyes and mouth as well, leading to an allergic reaction. So you have to be extremely careful. So keep it at a safe distance and enjoy the beauty of this plant. Trust me, it's an absolutely beautiful plant. Has a very different look to the alocasia plant. Usually our alocasias, you might have seen, they have these really broad leaves. They are very wide, growing very large, but this is one of them that tends to grow very narrow and tends to grow in a bush with a purple undertone. So guys, that's all about it. I hope that this video was helpful to you. If it was, please hit the like button, and if you're new to my channel, please consider subscribing to it. Until then, take care, stay safe, and keep propagating.